for the cross. And it's the skipper, George Johnson. It's absolutely wonderful from Scott Fraser. Scored in front of the crowd. Takes a shot.
The Addicts return to the Valley looking for back-to-back home victories and hoping that we can extend our unbeaten run to 3 league matches in what will be, of course, Michael Appleton's first visit to the home dugout. Wycombe are the visitors today. They are unbeaten in 5 league games. Matt Bloomfield's side lost their opening 2 of the season, but 4 wins and a draw have followed, so it'll certainly be a good test for Appleton and his side today. With less than 30 minutes until kick-off, let's take a look at what we've got coming up. We'll hear from Michael Appleton, who spoke to Charlton TV ahead of his first home game as the club's head coach. The returning Chuks Aneke made a real impact in his return last weekend, and he explains to us just how excited he is to be back. And we'll hear from Michael Hector as he looks to bring some solidity to the Addicts' back line. Well, a warm welcome to everybody joining us today around the world. If you haven't bought your match pass as yet, then please do. Just £10 what should be a really good game against Wycombe here at home. Now, we are that time of the year where Curbs is off sunning himself, which, to be fair, is one thing that we were going to talk about. You can see an empty chair. We were going to bring in our favourite guest or replacement, which is Kevin Lisbie. Liz, how are you? Yeah, you been okay? The Blackwall Tunnel, can you believe this, Brownie?
Yeah, listen, it just shows how professional Curbs is. It's always early, always does his research. This is Kev of our playing days.
Is it? What was he like?
He put in so many fines. Yeah, his discipline on getting in on time was very, very poor. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Had a couple of holidays off Kev's fines, to be fair.
We are hoping that Liz will be with us before kick-off, but Blackwall Tunnel, Curbs always moans about it, but he's always here. Let's touch on Curbs. I mean, first holiday of the year, of the season.
Can't be.
What are we thinking? It's going to be, what, double figures by the end of the season?
Yeah,
or what?
well, we were out of him last week, weren't we? And he tried to force us on 2. Didn't he? In front of the wives. As soon as I got on the train, my missus was like, "You're not going." I said, "Oh, it's Curbs." No, I was going, "It's Curbs. What do you want me to do?"
Curbs. That's your
yeah,
default
my go-to.
answer, isn't it?
It's Curbs.
And
what
she
do you
can't
want me
say
to do?
anything. Yeah, no, Turkey with the girls and Spain without. So we'll see whether that happens or not. Should we talk about football?
Yeah.
Because we should do, really. Good win against Fleetwood, came back very well to get that. And it was a good second half against Stevenage as well, wasn't it? So something to build on for today.
Absolutely. I think today's a really good marker. They're in really good form, Wycombe. And I think if we were to get a result today, I think the expectation level will rise amongst the support, the fan base. So, you know, I think if we can pinch a win here, you know, I think things are actually absolutely looking up. Wasn't a very good performance first half. We went behind. Good character again. That's 2 games we've gone behind. 4 points from those 2 games. That's a good thing. It's not like you're taking a lead and losing. It's the opposite. We're getting points from those games. I'd still like to see us tighten up a bit more and be a little bit harder to break down. But yeah, I think there are strides, positive strides, you know, in terms of what you can take out of the last 2 games.
Yeah, Liz, very positive.
Honestly.
I can't. Liz, come on, where is he? Where is he? No, but you're right about positive momentum though, aren't you?
Yeah, and today we're up against a side that's in seriously good form. So they started the season back-to-back 3-0 losses, you know, and you know what that's like for a manager, you know. So you've got to find a way to turn that form around quick. They've done that. They're now being, hard to break down. 3 clean sheets in 4, and what you're going to get at Wycombe is a side that's a bit like you. I mean, you do the Premier League stuff. You watch West Ham. They're comfortable without the ball. They sit behind it. 35% possession, but with the possession they have, they create opportunities, and they're quite happy for the opposition to have the ball, have opportunities against them, but they make it very hard if you have clear cutters. You know, I think there's something like 40 opportunities in the last 4 games, 5 on target. So they defensively they look sound, hard to break down. Yeah.
Not much change from when Gareth was in charge, really. Before we move on, let's take a look at this photo, shall we? Because this came up on my social feeds this week. A West Ham fan sent it to me. It shows me having an argument with Roy Keane. It's actually in David Beckham's book. What do you think's been said there, Brownie? And do you back me?
Yeah,
Rio's
I think Roy's got a bark, no bite. I think you can take him.
You're the first person that's actually backed me.
He's lucky. Beckham's dragging him off. And,
I'm looking angry there, aren't I?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not like you either. You're normally quite calm and cool. Yeah.
Anyway, there's a nice photo to have. There's some big names in there. Seems a long, long time ago. I wonder if that's a 7-1 defeat we had. we scored the first goal, made them angry, and they ended up scoring 7.
We went 1-0 up there and lost 4.
Don't get them angry at Old Trafford. OK, look, we do hope to have Liz in pretty soon. We'll have to wait and see where he is and what point of the pre-match show he will come in. But let's move on, shall we? And hear from Michael Appleton, who I spoke to a little bit earlier. Michael, great to see you. Met you a few times over the years and that, but it's good to be face-to-face as Charlton manager as you are. How much are you looking forward to your first home game as the Charlton head coach?
Yeah, really excited. Yeah, really excited. I think obviously it was 2 weeks yesterday, obviously from my first day at the club. A little bit fortunate, unfortunate. You know, you never know when you have a game sort of cancelled, whether it's a good thing or not. I enjoyed the week, obviously last week in the build-up to the first game. Didn't go to plan first half. I think we were all aware of that, but second half there was much improved. And we're looking for something a little bit better today, and hopefully we'll get that in front of our own fans. Just on about the Valley, a little bit of a side issue. What are your memories of here? Good, bad, indifferent? I've got some good ones, to be fair. Yeah, I think there's only one defeat as a manager.
So you keep to that.
No, exactly. Yeah, and I think I made about 8 or 9 changes because it was the COVID year. And we just lost the opportunity to go up automatically because we drew at Peterborough on the Saturday. I've got good memories of the place. So hopefully that, like you say, that will continue over, the foreseeable future.
Look, it's been a bad start to the season for the club. That's why you're here. What did you see when you looked at the playing squad, and what have you been working on?
Obviously, potential-wise, and people keep using that word and. Sometimes you've got to be careful because people can get bored of that word very, very quickly if they don't see improvements and they, don't see players getting better and improving week on week, regardless of what actually the result might be. So there is potential. There's a lot of youth. There's a lot of athleticism in the group. I've touched on it already, and probably people are bored of it, but we do need a bit of help, and I think we'll get that help in time from an experience point of view.
Don't worry, we say the same thing on your behalf as well, Michael.
But I think the group as a whole, last week was a massive lesson for me. It really was because, 10, 15 minutes into the game, I almost sort of knew what I've got as a group, and it was good to know, and it was almost a blessing in disguise, really, because we could have got off to a brilliant start, and sometimes you miss things, but for us to do what we did last week in terms of coming in at half-time, disappointing, not perform well, to then come out and show the character and spirit they did in the second half, and it made it even more worthwhile because we were obviously attacking our own fans. I think knowing what I knew before and starting to have an understanding of what I know now, I'm in a much calmer place, I'd like to think that over a few weeks, months, we'll see big improvements.
The lads did show a lot of character, and that's not always been the case in recent years, so that would have been a positive. And you say about the fans going into that end as well. I mean, they were brilliant last week. How vital will they be going forward?
Yeah, they're going to be huge, and I knew that anyway. I knew from day one. Obviously, I spoke to various people who obviously play for the club, similar to yourself, and who've worked at the football club. And I had probably about an hour and a half on the phone with Powley about various things. Once you get that and you get that knowledge, it's invaluable. I'm hopefully going to be able to use that. And you touched on then about the character side of it. I won't accept anything else, Scott. I won't. It's one of them where it's a given. So if they've not had that in the past, they can look forward to making sure they get that in abundance.
Brilliant. In terms of today then, what are we thinking team-wise? Many changes? What is the team?
We've got a little bit of a change, obviously, in the left-back position. Theo Eden picked up an hamstring strain on Thursday. It was only after training session that he was registered a little bit, and it come out of nowhere, really. He had a scan, and could be 3 or 4 weeks before we see him again. So a little bit of a rejig in the back four. Terrell Thomas will come in and play on that left-hand side with James on the right. So Couple of changes in middle of park from last week. Just another opportunity for me to see the group this week has given me food for thought. And Louis Watson, I thought, come on and did ever so well on Saturday. So he's gonna come into the team, and obviously Alfie's back, which is a huge boost for us, which means a little bit of a slight change for TC.
So what are we thinking then in terms of TC?
Yeah, he's going to play in that 8 role. Obviously, I know naturally he's played a lot of his sort of youth football in them wide areas. I know Dean had played him in field slightly. I'm a massive fan of people in that 8 role being able to take it on the back foot and be direct. Didn't get that last week, and I know the lads are capable of doing it, but I didn't get it. But what I've seen from TC, certainly in the 2 weeks I've been working with him, loves taking it on the back foot. Very rarely takes the ball back into pressure. So hopefully he'll give us that today, and if we can pick our moments at the right time and coming up against a side that are going to drop into a low block really, really quickly, we need players who can deal with the ball and can deal with 1v1 situations.
Good luck today, Michael.
Cheers, Scott. Thanks.
Yeah, he spoke really well there, Michael, but we've got to stop for a second. And Kevin, Lisbie, thank you very much for coming.
Childish, very childish.
Didn't have time to get changed.
Didn't know that was coming.
Come on. Obviously we've got the fine to come anyway, but the reason...
I'm sure there's a lot of Charlton supporters on their way to the game that was in the same predicament I was. There actually is a fire... Let me finish. I've got to finish. There is an actual fire in the Blackwall Tunnel, so that's my excuse for today. But I do apologise.
Are you okay coming up? Because I thought you ran up the steps the way you were breathing heavy. You drunk down that glass of water as if like you got to do it in 2 seconds.
I actually sprinted up the stairs real quick time. So
I'm waiting for the sweat.
No, I'm alright. I'm as fit as a fiddle. Don't do that though.
On a serious note, great to see you, mate. Always enjoy your company, both on and off air. Shall we actually go back to the football again and have a look at the team that Michael has picked? Because it's an interesting one, Brownie, isn't it? There's lots of layers to it. Will Miles be out wide? He talked about Tyrese being as that 8, and Alfie back in.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways you can go here. You can go Tyrese in Miles' position, Miles where Alfie is, and maybe Alfie as a 4-4-2, or Alfie drops into that little 10 pocket, taking care of maybe a deep line midfielder, but then back into a 4-4-2. So there's options that I think Michael can have during the game in play. But he's chosen to start like that. I just hope Miles doesn't get dragged back as a right front player into sort of in front of our right back. But it's interesting about back foot, Tyrese Campbell receiving on back foot, being able to drive. He obviously likes 2 players in front of George Dobson who can turn and drive at players. So we'll see how this unfolds. But I think there's options within that without having to make any substitutions.
Yeah, I must just say, I suppose, look, it's 3 changes from last week. Terrell Thomas comes in at left back for the injured Tayo Eden, and then there's Louis Watson making his full league debut. Alfie comes in also for Chem Campbell. Liz, how much have you seen of Charlton this season in terms of sort of systems and players coming in?
I think I've watched 3 games this season, and I think, as Brownie says, I think you put players in formations nowadays, and I think you try to be quite flexible in the formations that they're playing. And as Brownie say, you could start like that, but I think after 10-15 minutes, if it doesn't change, I think it's easy done just to change a few people around and maybe change players and formations.
Yeah, very flexible, and it's good to see both Chuks and Boban on the bench as well. So if we do need a goal, the bench is looking stronger and stronger. OK, let's have a look at the other fixtures in Sky Bet League One now, shall we? After 3 games in midweek, we have new leaders. And they are at the very bottom of that fixture list because Portsmouth beat Barnsley 3-2 on Tuesday to move to the top. They host Lincoln today. Elsewhere, Reading, who beat Exeter 9-0 in the EFL Trophy this week, make the long journey to Blackpool. 7th host 8th as Bolton take on Peterborough, whilst Cambridge meets Port Vale in the battle of 2 of this season's surprise fast starters. Cheltenham still looking for their first league goal, with manager Wade Elliott leaving the club this week. They host last week's opponents, Stevenage. And Oxford against Exeter sees 2 of the top 4 go head-to-head. Look, Liz, we'll start with you. One of your former teams, Leyton Orient as well. Very winnable game against Shrewsbury today.
Yeah, I watched Orient play against, Exeter, 2 weeks ago, and they won 2-1. I thought they were the better team throughout the whole game at Exeter, and Exeter were on a really good run. So I think the boys at Orient will take heart from that, and I think anyone at home, they would think that they can be at the moment, but obviously in this league, every game's difficult. You've got to start off correctly and put your mark down and hopefully get the result.
It still is really early in the season, but who's impressed you most, or who do you fancy to be for that automatic promotion?
Funny enough, that Leighton Orient game v Exeter, I actually fancied Exeter. I watched how they play. They're a really attacking team. They get a lot of bodies in the box. Still fancy them. I know I've made them muddle up a few times last season, but I'm gonna go Exeter. I like the way they play. I like the way how aggressive they are attacking, and I think they're a good team.
Yeah, and Brownie, just no goals in 7 for Charlton. They're missing Alfie, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, we called that a couple of weeks back when they were 0 after 6, I think. But I quite like Portsmouth. I think they've started the season very well. They've made some great additions during the summer. They've brought in a manager that likes to play football, overplay at times. And that was a really good, quick start up at Barnsley. 3-0 up, I think, very, very early, and managed to hold on to the victory. So I think they're going to be in the hunt. I think Derby will bounce back. Interesting, because Carlisle is not an easy place to go, but they've got to be winning those games, so we'll keep an eye on that result. But that Bolton-Peterborough one's the one, I think, isn't it, that we're all sort of looking at to see how that one goes. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity this year, definitely, for an unfancied side to come through the pack and get promoted when perhaps in normal years they wouldn't.
I agree. I think it's one of the weakest League Ones we've seen for a few seasons. And also, Liz, it's good to see you. You're breathing properly now. So
always had a good recovery. Always had a good recovery.
I'm just gutted. I wanted this chair. I like the middle. I like what it does to me, but I'll have to get on with it.
On to our women's side now, and who got their first win of the season on Sunday. Kaylee Green scoring the goal as the Addicts beat Birmingham 1-0 at St Andrews. And I have to say, Brownie, you know, after no wins in the first 3, really good to get the first win under the belt, isn't it? Especially at a place like St Andrews.
Yeah, you always want to get a win on the board as quickly as you can, and it becomes frustrating when you don't. So that should settle a few nerves, because it doesn't matter what level you're at, doesn't matter who you're managing. You don't want to keep going 3rd game, 4th game, 5th game chasing the results. So it's good. That should calm everybody down, and hopefully we go from strength to strength.
Absolutely. It is the international break, but a date for the diary is Sunday, October the 22nd, here at the Valley. And look who we're playing as well. It is Crystal Palace, a derby not to be missed. Visit booking.cafc.co.uk to get your tickets for that one. 4th last season, and Karen, I'm sure, will be looking to improve on that. OK, let's move on now and back to today's game. And I caught up with Michael Hector just a couple of hours ago. Michael, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us. I mean, look, it's 2 games unbeaten in the league now. How important is it we start to build an unbeaten run going forward?
Yeah, no, for me it's momentum. I think the games we have lost this season, it's been tight, and it's been obviously us chasing the game and leaving ourselves open for a counter-attack. And I think we've learned the last 2 games to obviously sometimes take the point, or even when we at home last game we just shut up shop and took the win. And I think that's important to build momentum to push up the league as well.
You've been playing alongside Lloyd Jones at a centre-half position. It's an incredibly important position in the team. How do you feel that relationship is coming along?
Yeah, no, it's good. Obviously, he's a good player. He's experienced in the league as well. And yeah, for me, playing as many games as I have, a partnership's key, especially centre-back. You can't chop and change if you want to go forward. And yeah, for me, it's just building a relationship. We've not played many games together, and we're still learning each other's strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, it's good at the moment.
Yeah, in terms of you personally, you're a senior pro, you played at a much higher level as well. How do you see your role at the club, not just in the team?
Yeah, no, for me, obviously, it's a very young squad, and going forward, I'm a key member in helping them come through, and yeah, just making sure that obviously we've not had a good start to the season, but just keeping their heads high and making sure that we still train well and we're still positive around the place, because I think that's key. It's only the start of the season, really. We've got a lot of games to play, and I think everyone's really down at the minute or before. Obviously now we've had 2 games unbeaten, but yeah, I could see in a place where everyone's a bit down and a bit out. But yeah, for now it's a new start, fresh start, and the way we've been training, obviously the last 2 games we've shown that there's a lot of quality in the squad, and a long way to continue. You can be a captain, a leader, without actually wearing the armband, you know, so the mouthpiece for the manager on the pitch. But what has Michael changed since he's come in? For me, it's just I think a bit more direct than obviously Dean was before, and yeah, he's made set out a few rules and stuff, tweaked a few things in training and stuff like that, and yeah, no, it's been tough. I'm not gonna lie, but I think obviously a lot of players needed that, and yeah, it's been good so far, and yeah, it's only the start. So we've got to get used to the way he does things as well, because it's a change from obviously what Dean done to what he does now. And yeah, as in football, I've been through a lot of managers, and obviously a few of them have obviously only had Dean. So it's a big change, and yeah, it's been good so far. Yeah.
Tough. In what way?
Tough, yeah. Physically, mentally, the training sessions have been long, but it's been good. Obviously, tactically, we've done a lot on the pitch, and yeah, it's been, to be fair, it's been very simple but clear, and I think that's important in football, and especially the run we've been on. It's important to have everyone on the same page.
So how do we approach today's game then? Wycombe, obviously bad start to the season, but they're unbeaten in 5 now.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of players from Wycombe, and they're a good side. A lot of players that have played a lot higher as well, and you know, with Wycombe, you're always going to be in a game. They're going to be direct. They're going to put balls in the box. They've got tricky wingers. They've got tricky players, quality players, and yeah, it's going to be a tough game. But we're excited about today, and hopefully, obviously, the fans turn up and get behind us.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, look, Brandy, he's a key player, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got the experience. He has played at a high level, and yet defensively, we haven't been good enough, have we? So it's really important he and the team and everybody else gets that solidity.
Absolutely, and it needs to settle down. It's been changing too much, you know, and I think this is not like a 2 or 3 game thing. This is a 2-year thing. Our defence hasn't quite been right for a couple of years, and we've not been able to rely on the same people week in, week out. And I think defensively, you can change a winger, you can change a striker, and they'll react quite quickly. I think a back 5 has to know each other's games. And we have not had any consistency at all. We've had people come in and do well, but then they've come out, they've lost form, and we've never looked quite right. And you kind of try and work out why, and sometimes I think it was the style of play we had. I don't think the style of play we were using was suiting the back players we had. And it exposed them at times and put them in positions they didn't want to be in. And we tried to say on here, you've got to try and be a little bit better behind the ball, and it just never materialised. And that's why I said earlier, can we just I'd still like to see us reduce the mistakes we make, and I'd still like to see us reduce the amount of opportunities we give up in games. You know, and that comes down to a consistent back 5, or you know, on whatever setup you want to use. But we haven't had that for a while. So hopefully they can gel. We're able to pick the same players week in, week out.
I don't know if you go along with you can put a striker in and out and it won't be a problem, Liz, but in terms of the centre halves, he's spot on about that though, isn't he? And someone like Michael, with the experience he's got, and that's why I asked him the question about how do you see your role at the club, not just in the side. And he needs to show he's a leader himself, doesn't he? Yeah, for me, as soon as he walks into the door here, he should have seen himself as a leader. You look at what he's done in the game where he's played and the player he is. I thought he would come in and I thought he would actually control that back 4 and make sure that he was almost like the captain. Like as you said, you don't have to have the armband to be a captain. And for me, he's definitely a leader. And I think that's going to be key this season, that he steps up and he takes that role and he's quite vocal and he makes sure that they do things correctly at the back. And Brandy's right. I mean, you can take strikers at an end, but we won't be happy. But we can quite easily do that. We score a goal and have a bad game and come out. But I think with a back 4 and the keeper, I think there's got to be real consistency to get anything in a season. He is right, but how much did that hurt you to say that he was right? He knows. I don't even have to say it on there. He knows how much that hurt me to say.
When we're off air, he'll go, I really wanted to disagree with you. But it's this, they say, don't they, the cliche is defences win your championship, strikers win your games. And that's the cliche.
We're all in agreement in that. And left backs win you titles. Last weekend we saw the return of Chuks Aneke, and as always he did make an impact, didn't he, coming off the bench. And he spoke to Charlton TV this week. Let's hear what he had to say.
It was really good to be out on Saturday. I've had a lot of time inside the physio room, working hard. I've been grafting, so and it was just good to be out. And you know, I felt sharp, I felt good. So yeah, just good to just be out there and have an effect on the game. But the gaffer told me just to put myself about, you know, and that's what I tried to do on Saturday. I tried to go on there and just be physical present. So even when I was warming up in the beginning of the game, you know, I could hear them singing hear the fans singing my name. So yeah, no, it's definitely amazing, you know, to have such support. You know, I've had a hard time with injuries, and you know, for the fans to support me like that, you know, it means a lot. So when the fans are, you know, behind you, just gives you that extra, you know, 10%. So yeah, definitely was good. Working on the gap, I find it good. You know, like you see, he wants to be a bit direct and, you know, get the ball on the pitch and runners and beyond. And you know, so yeah, it's been good. You know, training's been a lot intense. So obviously, yeah, I need it right now as well. So yeah, it's been good. I think like I said, we've got some very good players, and you know, just feel like it needs to come together a little bit for us, and you know, we just get some consistency. You know, let's say key players have had key injuries at different times. So if we all get everyone on the pitch at one time, you know, we're pushing forward, and I think it'll, you know, be really interesting. You know, I'm really, you know, whether I start or come off the bench, you know, I want to be a threat, and I want to score goals, and I want to make goals, and you know, I want to be direct, and I want to get the ball forward. So yeah, that's what it is really. I enjoy playing at the Valley. I said the fans are always supportive, and yeah, like I say, I've been out, so I'm just, you know, raring to go, and you know, just score some goals, and you know, just be you know, just be involved, you know. So yeah, you know, so the gaffers come in, we'll be training quite high intensity, and you know, I think we're in a good place. You know, I think in a good place. I think there's no reason why we can't go on Saturday and get the win. We're at home, and you know, they say we've got good attacking players, we've got good defence, so yeah, just go out there and just express ourselves, and you know, just yeah, really, we can get 3 points. Why we should go out there and believe in ourselves? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's just great to see him fit, isn't it? I mean, for himself as much as the team, but he can make a massive impact for the team, can't he, come off the bench?
Yeah, I think it's vital that we have him fit and available, whether that's just coming off the bench full stop or not. He's proven he can get up, beyond double figures just coming off the bench, and I think that's vital for us, you know, in terms of longevity of the season. But you look at that bench today, and you've got Chuks, you've got Chem, who can come on in attacking midfield position, breaking the box, and you've got Tedic. So suddenly we've got these options that Curbs has been talking about for weeks and weeks, and it's a little bit harsh on, you know, Dean, the previous manager, on not having these options, but that is unfortunate how the managing world works. You know, sometimes you have these periods where you can't pick who you want, and if the results don't go your way, you see a change. But it's great for this squad, great for the football club that we've now got these attacking options. And we're only going to get stronger, I think, as these injuries start coming back week after week. But yeah, great option to have late in the game.
Liz, 4 fit senior strikers as Alfie, Miles, Chuks, Boban as well, and that's not counting young Daniel Kanu as well, who's already got 3 goals this season. As a striker, did you enjoy competition for places, or did you want to be seen as the number one? We all want to be seen as the number one, but actually,
yes.
You know, what's best for us? What was best for you?
Yeah, I think sometimes you've got to look beyond yourself and look at the bigger picture. And as you say, every striker wants to be number one, but I think it's quite important that you earn that spot as well.
So did having the competition spur you on, even though you didn't necessarily?
I think it's down to the individual. I think a lot of strikers, someone will come in and first thing they'll do is put their head down thinking, why have you brought him in? Is he come to take my place? And I think some strikers will respond really well and think, okay, I'm going to step my game up. I'm going to make sure that the manager sees me as the number one. I think everyone's got to understand what their role is. And listening to him there, I think he's just happy to be back.
Yeah.
I think he's happy to be a part of the squad, and I think he's got to get to the stage where he trusts his body again. So that might take a while, but it's important that we have him for the season and not 4 or 5 games.
Absolutely, but it's absolutely crucial to have those options off the bench, isn't it? And when you weren't starting and you were coming off the bench, how difficult was it to physically to get used to the pace of the game, or was your mindset, I've got to make a massive impact here?
Yeah, I mean, we was in the Premiership when I was there. I mean, you almost have to get yourself ready while you're warming up. You haven't got time to ease yourself into the game. I mean, as a centre back, you probably could come in Brownie, just kick the ball down the sides and get yourself.
Nod it back to the keeper. All I had to do was just nod it back to the keeper. Got a nice round of applause for that, Kev.
But I think strikers, you almost have to be ready for the game. The ball comes up to you, it has to stick. You get a chance. You might only one chance you get. You have to be ready for it. So yeah, I think he'll be on the side now, thinking, look, I'm going to play a part of this game, and hopefully he's got his head into the game, even though he's on the bench.
Yeah. Let's remind ourselves, shall we, of our team, but also of Wycombe as well, because they did have a poor start to the season, but it is unbeaten in 5, winning 4 of those games. And Brownie, there's some quality experience in that Wycombe side.
Yeah, and that's why I think they're comfortable out of possession, if I'm honest with you, because they have players who know how to manage games and the situation that they find themselves during that game. I think they brought Wheeler back today, and I think he'll sit in a central midfield position. And he's been a wide player, notoriously throughout his career. But what I've noticed from the highlights of Wycombe is they are comfortable behind the ball, they are comfortable in numbers, but they break into wide areas and they will test you with crosses into the box. The last 3 or 4 games, that's how they've scored the majority of their goals. So we've got to be, you know, defensively sound from balls coming in from wide areas.
So how do we break them down?